Yes, thank you. So the weather is fine, the sun coming in. It's dark, not dark. It's shiny here. We have now 1 o'clock, and that means this weekend will come in 1 hour. So in the next hour, I will show you, or the 50 minutes, I will show you several things. So I have to switch to my stage. So then you see it's done and you see all the stuff what I have done. So I will talk about Add to OneDrive. Is this a new way to sync and why we should have all this stuff? So my name is Brender. I'm a cloud productivity evangelist. Sometimes I say I'm an influencer about OneDrive. Sometimes I say I have been retired because in my age I should not do anything, but the people will come more and more, and therefore I have no idea what's going on, when it's going on. So I will talk a little bit on who I am. So let's say I'm an MVP since 9 years, most for a little professional, that about 4,000 people. And you can reach me via email at the email address or my blog. I have 850 articles all about OneDrive, OneDrive for Business, SharePoint, and these stuff. You can also reach me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You'll see later on, we have all those special things. Sometimes we do a little bit more, and then we will talk about that. So what will happen the next few minutes? So my architecture is that we will start for the beginners, because sometimes the people do not know what's this OneDrive. It's the same way like other storage in the cloud or like Dropbox or something else. And I will show you that's not the same. We have a different architecture there. Therefore, I go in details then with the architecture. I will show you how we think in the old ways, and I will show you although with Add to OneDrive what will happen when it will go, and then we have some tips and tricks for the daily work, and then the summary that will close the session for about that. So let's start. So if you know, sometimes it's an easy part to say, hey, you have to navigate to Office 365. You have to sign in, click on the OneDrive button, click on the Sync button, and then yes, yes, no, yes, in that order. Done. It's not the same. So sometimes if you prefer a machine, Windows 11 machine or something, you will see it's implemented during the imaging process, and it will ask you several things, and then you have to know that. And that's be carefully, otherwise you will have a OneDrive automatically implemented, and therefore we have to know that. But it's only, I have to say what is not OneDrive. OneDrive is not a network drive. You know, a network drive is going very, very fast, and you have to be connected during the network. That's a different. And it's also not a shared drive, what we have seen. And it's not a simple storage location in the cloud. So it's different. It's different than that. And it's not as fast as a network drive. It depends if you have a speed up and down to the cloud. And if it's terrible, you do not have the right decision, then it's not so good to use OneDrive at all. But therefore, there are several arguments for that. And it's not suitable for all data types. Think about if the data you want to have it in the cloud and you see that, let's say a database that will mention what we will have. And the database means, although, okay, it's changed all the way in your small company or something, then it's not a good idea to go it if it's changed so fast that you are not able to sync the data without any change to the cloud. Then it's not a good idea. Let's say, for example, Outlook and PST files. It's implemented in Outlook. It will never be a good idea. Even if you do not work with the PST file, but it's inside Outlook, it's not a good idea. If you have a local PST file outside, you can do that. But you never will do and implement something. But inside Outlook, it's not a good way. So therefore, they look for it, and it's not suitable for all data types. But there are other recommendations, all other restrictions we will have there. Therefore, we have to look for that. So the next one, it's not like Box, Dropbox, or any other cloud storage. That could not be, because you see, Dropbox and all is a cloud storage. We have some rules. And Microsoft has a philosophy that has nothing to do with technique behind the stuff. It's although that you can see Dropbox and Box, it's different. The cloud is a leading system, and therefore we have to know about that. So OneDrive provides offline capability not only in Windows. You have an Apple device or if you have a Windows device and you go outside and you do not have any internet, you can work offline. All you think and writing down to your hard disk will establish and sync back to the cloud if you have an internet later on. So therefore, you have offline capability in OneDrive. And OneDrive also contains metadata, like history. Metadata? Yes. So the history command is very interesting to see. Windows and Apple, not an iOS and so on, only shows you, if you sync the data, the latest version. But if you write something down in a Word document or an Excel sheet, and you write something down and say save, and then save to the cloud, that's okay. But if you change something else after that, it will take always a history about that. So you can back to each step. You do not need the thing that you have to say, okay, that's raw, then you have final list. So that's the old days with all these stuff. Now you have a metadata history commands, so you can have it and come back to an old version. But OneDrive is also a little bit more. It's a little bit more if we can say it's a brand. So that makes it very, very complicated, because sometimes the people do not know that talk about OneDrive and mean OneDrive for Business. OneDrive for Business? OneDrive? What's the difference? So there are different things, and we have to know about that. But OneDrive is also called a sync technology. If I talk to them, I talk about the next generation sync client. But sometimes the people have to say, what's the difference with all of that? That means OneDrive works internally in Windows 8, 10, 10 and 11, and Windows 7, if you install it there. Sorry. It's OneDrive for Business and OneDrive Personal or Consumer. If you talk to the Microsoft people and they are standing on stage, they only talk about OneDrive. If you talk to them in person, and they know you, and they will talk about, okay, it's different between OneDrive Consumer or Personal and OneDrive for Business. So therefore, we have to know. And the important thing is OneDrive is the basis for collaboration. Without OneDrive, you cannot collaborate on one file with more than one people together at the same time. But we have to look about that later on. So that means we have some symbols, and that's the old symbols. You see three symbols, three. But hey, what's the difference? So Microsoft in the old days, we only has this one, the dark blue symbol, and that was during the days we had called them the Groove client. So that was before we started with the next generation sync client. And then Microsoft decided, okay, we do it different. We make it a little bit in another color. It's still blue, and you have it also in white. So the difference is that's the next generation sync client for OneDrive Personal, and that's the other one, the next generation sync client for Office 365 and other things here in the next generation sync client. And then they changed all the symbols in Office for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, desktop applications, and we have it all down. Now you see different symbols. That means you still have the old Groove client. You need them. Why? Because all SharePoint servers before 2019 on premises, we still need the old Groove client to sync with them the data. So therefore, you have to know what's happened there. And for the other one, we have this one or this one in Personal. That means people who has nothing with SharePoint on premises will never see this symbol. And this is an old client, therefore we have to look for the architecture. And the architecture is different. That means, okay, listen, the new architecture for the Groove client has some problems. If you have more than 5,000 elements in the synchronization, the Groove client ends with thinking. No error message, end. People ask me, hey, I have a problem. We still have we got no error. And I say, okay, go to the list, look for them, what do happen, and see and count how many items are there. Oh, 5,030. And I say, yes, reduce the amount of them, put it in an archive, put it from the complete stuff, and go under 5,000, and then we'll stuff again. Okay, that's the thing. And therefore, Microsoft talk about the architecture of OneDrive and say, okay, it runs in a user context. It's 113 languages. The Groove client only has one language. You can change the language, but on the machine, it's only one language. It will not change if you change the machine language and so on. No. And there is one engine inside Windows 10 or Windows 11 with OneDrive Exe, but several instances. Means, yes, if you have OneDrive for Business and you have OneDrive Personal, there are two instances with the same sync engine. But it's also enterprise ready. If you go and have a company with 30,000 users, 50,000 users, it's not a problem. You can have some group policies. There are 40, 45 group policies to handle all the stuff that we can do automatically and do not do for each person and tell them you have to do that and that and that. And the big thing with the OneDrive Exe, the next generation sync client, is it's a self-update. Each week we got new instances. If you are on a different ring systems, we have 3 different rings. That's an insider ring each week. And we have also the normal for public, what we have inside the companies. And for bigger companies that do not want to have some changes too often, they say, okay, 4 times the year that it's deferred channel or enterprise channel. So therefore, it will automatically. That means if you are sitting behind other people on the other side, means, okay, same network, same machines, same monitor, same. But the difference is you are a little bit earlier, 2 days or something else, means established. You cannot control that. That means you got an insider version or the other version earlier than the other people. So it depends. I have one machine in my video room, and this video room is upstairs, and I know exactly when a new version will come. It's always on Tuesday on this. But the other ones are, and one we talk about now, it's on Friday or Saturday. So it's different. So yeah, reduce the traffic for the new update, because if you got a new update that's only 50 megabyte, but only an updater. This process will be start, and then you can collect all the data for completely stuff with the 100 different languages, with all the stuff, the pictures, and the completely store means it will come down to 200 megabytes. And thinking if all people in your company will have it during the same time, that will not work. So therefore, you don't have to control that. It will come. But sometimes, even if it's together, the same network switch and so on, it can say, okay, you are a Monday guy and you are a Wednesday guy. Whatever it happens, it will come. So it syncs only with Office 365 and SharePoint 2019 on premises. And here it will be installed. So you see, that's a completely stuff we have done in the past. And after you got during the OneDrive or the SharePoint, that means, okay, it's different here. And Office 365, you also have a SharePoint Online between that. That means, or at the end, from OneDrive, it runs into a blob storage. You can control that. But that takes a bit of time if you go to OneDrive Personal, and it's not so easy that you see, hey, it's inside a SharePoint. Even if you know, and it's only OneDrive for Business. OneDrive for Business is a site collection. And if you have 50,000 users, employees in your company, you have 50,000 site collections. Remember that. That means, okay, the biggest advantage for me in SharePoint, only one sentence about that, means you can search. The search functionality is better than all things we have, but therefore we have this time, we have to go to the web part and look for that, and then you can search even to documents inside. It looks inside the documents, even if it's a Word or PDF, it looks inside and bring you the information. You will never get this if you go on a Windows machine or on an Apple machine, because they do not look inside, and it's only not the latest version, and therefore we see that. But anyway, looking for that. That takes time. The index and so on takes time. There are some limits in SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. You find a page, you see that here, you got the information about the slide deck too. So that means, okay, we have 300,000 files and instances. Yeah, 300,000 files only? Yes. But later on, we will talk about that. We have file lengths. It starts with 15 gigs, then 100 gigs, each file, and 250 gigs. You have on Windows a file name with 256 and now 400 characters, and we have no map drive. If you look for map drive and found something with map drives on the internet, don't do that. It's not recommended to do that. Microsoft says we do not confirm it. Yeah? And there are some libraries with settings, check in, check out. You should not do that too. But you can check IRM or something else, information rights management and Azure things that you can do. That will work. So looking completely what we have talked about the first quarter of an hour. So you see, you need the old Groove Sync client for SharePoint on premises 2007 until 2016. For all other, you can take the next generation Sync client implemented in Windows. Even if you don't use it, if you introduce it, you got an old version. Even you got the first Windows 10 version. Yeah, no issue. It takes a new one immediately after you install it, and then you have the newest version during an install process. Therefore, that means we can talk to all each components in Office 365 to sync this stuff. Although we can sync document libraries with IRM, RMS, and sensitive labels. So it's all the same, but in a different way. IRM established in NT4 long ago, and therefore we have this one. And now they talked about RMS or sensitive label. That means we have protect our information on the servers in SharePoint. So now I will talk a little bit quick about the old syncing days. Means if you go there, you see here we have a SharePoint, and on this SharePoint we have an Exchange, that's our cloud, and we have OneDrive Personal. We do not access and cannot handle that. That means that's Office 365. Sorry. And you see SharePoint Online, and we have to look what's in there. So we have one or more document library. It depends on your organization. How many document libraries will you have? So the document libraries is each also a site collection. That means if you are there in the document library, there is a creator and there are members in there. That's the primitive stuff now. And that means, okay, each person in the document library can connect and can have the information and sync the information. So in the other way means OneDrive for Business is here. I only make here the picture for 3 OneDrive for Business. Why? Because I only have place here on this chart. If you have 10,000 people in your company, then you have 10,000 of these blues actions. So see that you also got a Windows 10 or 11 machine. We will see that, but also in Outlook. Outlook? Why Outlook? And we have to look for that. But there's also Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but we have to look why we have Word, Excel, and Outlook and PowerPoint. On the other hand, on the right, we see a web browser, and you have to know all stuff will first develop at Microsoft during a web browser, not on the left side. Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint must be rolled out to your machine. even you use an Apple device or something else. A web browser is immediately there. Microsoft can control that, have bug fixing immediately, and do not testing completely. So if you do Outlook on the web, that is okay. Yeah, it's the same that Outlook, but we will see that. Then we have also the mobile things like iOS and Android. Yeah, you see that. And last not least, we have Teams. Teams can connect to all these stuff. But anyway, we see that. So we see Exchange Online, we see a SharePoint Online, and we see OneDrive Personal, and we have to see what happened. So if you go and want to send something, document, you can do that via Outlook, and you can still attach a document. But even if you attach a document, it's out of your control. Thinking if two persons will work, you still have to wait until your other person on the other side send it back to you. We cannot work together. But if we look and do a different one, we have the information in a document library, or we have the information in OneDrive for Business and share a link about that. Means you get this information, sharing the information to your other parts or more than one, and then all people can work on your version wherever here we have stored. And that's okay. That's the best thing we can do, even if you store it in OneDrive Personal. But remember, OneDrive Personal is free, 5 gig of storage, but you have no control. So here in Germany and although in the US, we have to say no OneDrive Personal inside the company. Why? Because admins want to control the stuff via group policies, and there are no group policies for OneDrive for Business. They are controlling OneDrive for Business, but they cannot control. So I say one group policy, we want to have no OneDrive Personal, because it's outside the control. Here we want to see who is shared, when it's shared, and so on. Nothing with OneDrive Personal. Therefore, I talk not forward. But anyway, if you do that, and it's the same of the other side, have the same thing with Outlook on the web, it will done completely the same. You can do that and bring the information out. And on the other hand, sometimes you synchronize a OneDrive for Business. Perfect. All in your OneDrive for Business will be synced to your Windows 10 or 11 machine or to your Apple. Call it a Mac. Yeah? Although if you have a OneDrive Personal, I will show it later in the demo. And also you see here the document libraries can be done. And that's not only thing, we have a little bit more. That means now it was a little bit complicated, but I want to show it for you that you see that. Thinking if you are, I'm a trusted people to other companies, and sometimes the people have to say, okay, we want to work with you more than only for some documents, and therefore we got you a license. They're on Office 365, I'm on Office 365. Now I have a license for both. I don't need it on my machine, but I have now 2 icons. Or here in this environment, 3. OneDrive Personal, only 1. OneDrive for Business, the second blue one. And if I got here and sync all the stuff, the 3rd. So you have 2 blue icons and 1 white icon. So therefore you can work and store and sync the data not only for 1. Though the limit is 9 tenants and 1 OneDrive Personal. People want to ask me, why only 1? Because it's free. And therefore the people do not want to have to pay. Okay, it's different. 1 OneDrive Personal and 9 OneDrive for Business, or 9 tenants. And thinking what's happened if they think the data there. It's not so easy because Edge and all the components, you have to look for that. It's not so easy, but the people may use it. Also during pandemic, we also have some special stuff. Business to business synchronization. I talked about that during Ignite 2019 in a room. Ignite is one of the greatest conferences on earth from Microsoft. We have there 30,000 people, and I was invited to talk about business to business. And that's an interesting part. I only have to say, let's think during the pandemic. We are a hospital. And this hospital means, okay, we are on Office 365. And we have a document library and a document library for all these tests we have. And with this is okay. Each of the people at the hospital can reach the documents. But during pandemic, it was more labors and so on has to be implemented. And they are all on Office 365. And we can control that. The admin can control how many and which people can also to implement stuff here in Windows 10 automatically, or not in Windows 10, in the document library. And therefore, you have it implemented. That means, okay, we control the stuff, and the people on the other side means they can control and do not have to implement with new passwords and all the stuff. There's a trust between them. So that's a short version. It takes a lot of time. There is a description on the internet, means, okay, 275 pages of implementation of a business-to-business tenant. And on the other hand, we have to say, okay, there is Office. Why should we talk about PowerPoint, Excel, and Word? Because, yes, it's inside that we also have a sync mechanism to OneDrive Personal or to OneDrive for Business or to a Windows machine or to a document library. Yeah, it's all the same. You can do that. And therefore, it depends. If you're working with Office, how do you store your documents? If you store it directly and say, okay, I want to save this new document, and it comes and looks like a little bit different, not on your Windows 10. If you store it directly here in a document library, it will implement that and show you, then it's okay. It will directly start in the document library, and then from a document library, it will be pinged back to Windows 10 to sync the stuff. And that's a different version. We have to know about that. That will also. Therefore, I say, okay, Office will also sync some data. On the other hand, we can change with different people and work together. That is also possible. So looking for that, we have also some information. You can share documents also inside, external, and so on. It's also not a problem with that, and you can do it also with iOS. But here on this page, I show you some wrong, because this is not the correct one that I have also on both ends, because it's only going from the cloud to your device, to your iOS device. It shows you only if you have your smartphone on, but it will implement if you got off on a OneDrive for Business or document library. It collects all the data and brings it on your device. So it's not a completely sync. In Windows 10, you have the offline. You can do that here, but not automatically. You have to do it, say, okay, I will save it for the machine because I have no internet or something else. And the same is for Android. It's the same stuff. And we have also something that we have to say, watch its Teams. Sometimes the people has to say to me and say, hey, Teams, it's the same. No, it's not the same. We do not need the SharePoint anymore. No, it's only a connector. In Teams, you will be connected to Exchange for the chattings. That's always some small amount of mails in there, and also to the document library, to your OneDrive for Business, and all this stuff. Means, yes, you can sync the data. But why should we go to add to OneDrive? And what is Microsoft doing there? And therefore, I talked about 2 years ago, hey, we have to reduce it, because I know I have listened for some data. They call it add to OneDrive. That's correct, wrong. It's not add to OneDrive. It's also not add shortcut to OneDrive. It's absolutely only naming add shortcut to my files. It implements a shortcut. Hey, a shortcut? Yeah, the old way is a shortcut in Windows. It's very old. And remember what is the thing? If you do something and have not a completely good name, you can rename a shortcut. The functionality will still exist. And that's the same by OneDrive. Then you can also have the shortcut and you can rename the shortcut. So add a shortcut to my files is okay, and remove shortcut is the upper file, because it means that you can connect in different ways. So we have to look that the magic number I told you was 300,000. So there was a story I have to tell you. MVP colleague in California on the other side of the planet says to me, hey, I have a problem. I have here an iPad and I make a picture on it and it should be going to the cloud and then going to my Windows machine, but this will never comes up. At first, if I reboot this Windows machine, then the picture was there. What is wrong with them? That was a tweet. And I say, okay, how many items do you have? How many pictures do you have? And he says, okay, 3,400. And I say, okay. And where do we store the document or the pictures? Hey, OneDrive Personal. Perfect. And I've asked him the third question, how many documents do you have on OneDrive for Business? And he asked me, hey, that's the wrong answer. I store it on OneDrive. And I say, yes, but the engine is the same. Give me the number, how many documents, not the gigabytes, how many documents? And he says 1.3 million. And I say, okay, take it out for a time, produce the stuff, yeah, and you will see it will come. And he has done that. And I say, what is wrong with that? I do that, and most of the time, it means that's a wrong number. If you do it, it's only the sync engine that controls on your machine the 300,000. You should not have to say, okay, I need all on my machine. Has nothing to do if you got information with files on demand, means you only have a placeholder there and the content of the document is still in the cloud. No, has nothing to do, because although if somebody is syncing and he's changed on the other side from other colleagues from a document library, then you see, hey, it changed also, but only under the hood, not the content. The content is not interesting. And the machine should not work with you. The 300,000 is a built-in page. It depends if you have a high-speed machine or have a low-speed machine. If you have a 32-bit with OneDrive or 64-bit with OneDrive. So we have to look for that. Therefore, 300,000, you have to remember, that's a long. Means for all OneDrive Business, SharePoint Online. And then you show that. Okay, here I am here in a SharePoint library. You see that. That's the old drive. Means, okay, we can see all the stuff. Here is a SharePoint. We see sync and add shortcut. So take the first one and look for them. There's our 13,000 files. I have place enough. Okay, I do a different one. I have several libraries, therefore not so many. But I can sync on this. And if I press the sync button, it's synced to my machine completely, all. That's not so good. I do not need always all. That means, okay, let me do it in a different way. So now you see here that's for finance, and there are years of finance, 2021, 2020, 2019, and so on. And I need only, I'm a controller, and I need only 2020. And I do not have it. I have only 3 years on this slide, but maybe you have 20 years or something. And you need only one, means go in there and then look how many files, for me, less files, and press the add shortcut to OneDrive. Then it will establish. But what will be established? Looking for the stuff again, you see I'm user A and I'm sharing. I have to switch the camera if I look there. I switch to have the camera here from I want to share folder A2 to another guy inside my company. Okay, that's user B, that's admin. So that means, okay, admin can have that. That's B. And you see that's his own folders. And now he has his folder A2. And therefore, only this one, he sees it, I share the information, and he is seeing that shared with me in the browser. And then he has to say he's acting as add a shortcut to my files. And after that, he will connect all this. Means the new symbol in OneDrive, my files, see in the web. He also has see the folders and files on the web, and he also has the folders and files in Windows Explorer. And if you have iOS or if you have Android, you also have to establish there. It will be done to all your machines where you have connected. Wow. And if it reduces it and done it away next year or whatever, like this folder, and you say, okay, I want to have to cut, then it will be cutted. Means rename the folder only for him. That's how I have to say. And after removing, all files are also removed. In the old thing, it will not be removed. In the old thing, it's only on one machine. If you have different machines, you have to have it different on different machines. But here, add a shortcut will work on different means. All the files on all sides is now there. Listen for another thing. I have a document library, C, and I want to have to share the document library, this folder D3 to Etienne. Hey, he has no access to that, but I have access. And I have to say, okay, I share the information. And all the same process is, he see that in OneDrive shared with me, he can look for that shortcut to my files, bring it on, and all things are there. We have to look for that. The look is always better, but it's not live. That's although a picture. You see there's poster, add a shortcut, it adding a shortcut there, and you see, and rename it, and you see it here. Perfect. That is only on the Windows side. And now I have to say, okay, look, I have to look for that. And that means, although I have to establish here a remote connection and look for that, what's happened, if it's there, and I establish a root connection, and now you are on Windows 11 on this. Okay, another, no. Oops, that was the wrong button. I have to say yes. Sorry. And now we establish a connection to this guy, and we see that that's Windows 11. That means it's in the early state. That's insider version of Windows 11. And you see, hey, that looks very nice with all the same stuff. And we see that we also have some things on there. So for the first time, I have to say, okay, we see that's OneDrive for Business. That's OneDrive Personal. And we see that, oh, here's a connection. You see that? That means you see that is a OneDrive as add to OneDrive connection. But also I have a site, and you see all the information here. That means with all these documents, but it's not synced because file on demand is running on that. But anyway, I want to show that, and I want to show you also some new stuff that will come in the next few months if you're using Windows 11. So inside the Explorer, we have a fly out menu. Looking, I'm here, and it shows you this icon. If I go into music, it's not synced. You don't have this icon there. Okay, I want to try it here, and you see what's there. And you see your data are synchronized. It's this site, and here you can switch immediately to the site and see the information that you will see. Hey, it's inside there. You find all the information here. That's absolutely perfect. We find it's on a SharePoint site. You don't have to use it, not the right click and so on. But I will show you a little bit more. That means, okay, looking for that stuff, and you see here it's different. So going to there, and have it here, you see I have 146 megabyte. That's my OneDrive for Business. I also have the possibility to look the old. That's okay. I see what's happened there. But also I have to see for settings, you see the direct information, what you have synced there. You see which version of that. I have the OneDrive version, the insider version, and you see that although. And the last one is we can also going directly to the OneDrive for Business. Wow, that's okay. And I have to look for all the stuff. Let me look what we can do. That means we have to look, let's say, for a site or for implementation. My files, I want to say, shared. What is shared with me? And I have to look for that. And we see a lot of information here. And there is OneDrive for Business. That's all my material on my, from Hans, you see that? And we have to say, look inside. I don't need the complete stuff. But okay, I'm clicking here, and now you see all the intos. That means for buffer, for gigabyte, how many gigabytes. It's different parts here, very, very long. But only I want to have the libraries, I think the workshop. I have something with workshops, and I will show you going down. And now you see the workshop. And I click here, and now I do not have to share completely. I only want to share, add shortcut to my files. It's done. Perfect. Mean it's immediately done in the workshop. That's okay. Going to OneDrive, and you see the stuff here is workshop is now done. It's only a small portion. I do not have to need all of this in my machine. It's only a small portion. Therefore, we have to look for that. So that is that. But look for that. It could be that it's not happened here. Why it's not synchronizing? And that's a little bit thing because it's a small machine. It's an older machine here with Windows 11. Therefore, I have to look for that, and I have to go back and come again here. And then we see that if we say, okay, put it out. That's an insider version. Put it in. And you see now the workshop is there. Perfect. It's automatically has sync, and I have also some crew policies. That's different workshops I have done here. Yes, that's the old format. Version 1, version 2, version 10. Yes, you see that's 193 megabyte, means 500 slides for a workshop. But the good thing is that we can talk and use all this stuff and say it. There are several reasons why I have not done that. But anyway, it will work there, and therefore we have look for the PowerPoint again. And it's gone. That's not a good idea. Why is it gone? We have to look. So add to OneDrive Discovery Series, and now we are here. And let me look that you also got the information. There we start again, and we have to look for there. That was I have done, and I have to show you what's there. Therefore, you got it later on. Here is from a mobile perspective. So look for the right camera that I have to speak there. That's a mobile characteristic, and therefore you have to see, okay, here you see the icon. And then that's the icon you see, although make, remove on this, a shortcut will be removed. Thinking about Teams, you know, the first section is always general. If you sync this stuff, you have general. You do not know what there. So if you have more than one Teams, the general is still there. But with add shortcut, you have general, and then you put on this and say rename that. And that means only a shortcut will be renamed. And then you have general for Teams YYY. General for Teams XXX, whatever you have to done. That's a perfect. But remember, it's only one. It will be done all on your machines. So you could also have, hey, there is a sync problem. Why? Because of the error messages. Because of an error messages on the other machine you have synced in the past this, and therefore it's only one way because it will be done on each machine. Okay, compilation together only for people in your organization, and that's a different. OneDrive for Business and shortcuts means only to the people in your organization. It's not for external stuff and so, but any folders from OneDrive for Business, any folders from a SharePoint document library. You may get an error if you already sync your data, as I mentioned 2 minutes before, shared with me. For external users, you share the folder with files, you still must use the synchronization method in the old days. So the question is, what should I use? And I have to say it depends. So I got it very quickly because there are so many slides there, and means, okay, share sometime it's better you sync the stuff here, manual sync with our crew policies, with a library. It's always possible here. You can do that. On the other hand, it depends how many stuff is there, how they are organized, the stuff inside the SharePoint library. Sometimes I do it from the file server, directly migrate to a SharePoint library, and it's not a good thing. If you have it some years or something exactly, then you can say from here down, I want to share it. But therefore the people, and now they say, oh, now it's my OneDrive comes up, but the data comes from a SharePoint library. Yes. Where should you do that? It's not from a SharePoint. It's always implemented as a shortcut to OneDrive. You see that here, edge shortcut to the library in white, in black, and dark mode. And if you want to read it a little bit more, read it very slowly, not so quick. We have no time today. OneDrive, added OneDrive, global available. I have an article in 2020, add OneDrive, the next step. The third one is add OneDrive, difference in synchronization. And the fourth, 5-step from a classic to OneDrive. Click on that, they're in English, and you can read the stuff and can say, oh, it works. Try it. That's an easy part. So some tips and tricks for the daily work. Sometimes the people say to me, oh, I do not get the newest version from OneDrive. So you need some stuff, and I press here the link and show you the links where are there. That means in Office 365, there are URLs and IP addresses you want to see. So Exchange is not Exchange. We see, oh, SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. So you see there is a category, and there's as always, it's optimized, but it's required. You need that. So sometimes we have to look for two. That means glive.com, OneClient SSX is for the updates. I will show you again. And then the .ens is, although default, it's required. We will have on the next slide. So we have to look for that. That means OneClient SFX MS and glive.com, it's responsible. If you do not get these pages, have no access, you will never get an update. Sometimes I change the router and do not look for the right stuff. It's TCP 44380, but anyway, you have to look for that. And the other one means, okay, why it's so slowly? If you got an information and have access, traffic to the star.dns, windows.com, then you do it pushing this stuff and not or doing pulling. If you have access, it's a pull. Push the command, so it's very quickly. So looking for this stuff, automatic updates, it will be done automatically. You find also on this link, you can show all this stuff with all the different versions. Microsoft is not implementing on his side only the productivity, the production ring, and the deferred ring. I also do the insider thing, and you got it in a 32-bit and in a 64-bit, or new ones for Windows is ARM64. And I have another page on that. You can click on that for the Apple guys. And this also for the Apple guys, not the insider version, but the for the production ring in two different ways, the Intel code and for M1 processors, the silicon code. But you have to look for that during this page. Therefore, you have to look for that. I showed you this stuff I have mentioned, that you have it also with you. That will come in Windows 11, and we will see that in the near future with all the stuff that happened here, and it will come more and more. And I talked to Microsoft. That's a very short one, because that means he knows where you are, and it's only one click away to handle the information. Also for search, also for deletion, and all the other stuff. So you also have to read some blog posts. That's only a blog post from community blog post about OneDrive. So you have to look at from Microsoft. I also write a lot of documents in there. But it's also a thing that we have to see, hey, what's in development if you read more? And one more thing. I have one more for you. That means two or different people, 3 people has done a little bit different and has to say, okay, we want to digitize you. That's 2 MVPs from Austria. One is a developer MVP, and the other one is a AI MVP. And they came to me 2 years ago and say, hey, we want to digitize you. And now you see all the stuff, what happened. And I give you some explanation. You see that here. It will run. You can have each question to OneDrive No, I'm not happy that I can do all the stuff, but I will show you, and you got an information about that. Look for that. I have it also here, boom, boom, running here. That's a bot that is running, and you see here the stuff. Let me look. Okay, dismiss, and you can call him and then say, you know, about security, yeah? And you have heard 4 knocks. Normally people has to say 4 knocks, but has nothing to do with security. Yes, it's for the goat. For the American ones have a star, a very version their goat in there. But if you talk to 4 knocks, does this star also know about something for 4 knocks? And yes, it will be done. 4 knocks in securities in SharePoint Online. And I think admin know that we have 4 knocks there. That means that encryption at rest, what we have, it's still there. And people also have to renote if something goes in, you see that's a part that we have here. And there is also several things you can do. We don't have time, but that's the thing that the people for admins, sometimes it's interesting. You see the video, you see that, but you can also look what's another with security and so on. Or you can also say, okay, what's happened? And we can change the language. Now we have it in 2 languages and so on. So back to that, that's the community bot. It knows a lot of stuff, but you also have to listen to YouTube, to a channel. Microsoft has made an interview with us, and we have 4,500 YouTube's readers. You can see counting. It's half an hour how we do that. And we also have done a web chat version. If you are not able with Teams, sometimes companies says, no, you cannot install it. Therefore, you can use the web chat version and ask the bot, even if you don't have it, because I have to sleep, the bot never sleeps. For all the slides, you have to look for that one. Take your camera. That's the first one. Take it in a different one. I also stab it with reading names with bit.ly/OneDrive. And that's the day today, 220326. OneDrive 220326, and you got the slides immediately. If you got any question, you have to feel free and go back. And I have to say, thank you, guys. 4 minutes. I know it's a little bit over, but maybe we have a question at the end.
Hans, impressive session. I really love attending this one as an attendee also. So we got one question so far. It's related to the sync. And that is how sync works if document count is over 20,000. Will it only sync the recent 20,000 documents, or it will have a different criteria for syncing?
20,000? No, it's not a problem with 20,000. If I have then the correct things, you can have although up to 300,000. That's not a problem. You know, in the SharePoint, we can store 30 million in one library, but we have to know the 100,000. There's another restriction. If you have more than 100,000, then it's not so quick anymore. And if you have more than a div level of 7, it's also got a little bit slowly. So if you want to have the data before you want to migrate, and look, do we have all things? Migrate this stuff, the old stuff, to the cloud, reduce it to although in the cloud what you need, and make an organization that you can walk with them, and then you can do that. And for many documents, I have some companies that have more and more. That started in a SharePoint library. That's for big processes outside. That started with documents before they got a project with 15,000 documents in there. And then the process will start about 10 years. And they're never, after 2 or 3 years, they reach the level of 300,000. And the only thing I have to say, they do it with manipulation, give them and say, okay, the engineers have to be there outside with big machines. It's not the big machine. The limit is there, and they have to reduce this and bring the different organization, bring the old stuff in there. That's a complete thing. But sometimes the people only have some information and they don't want to reduce it. I say do it in 2 or different document libraries, spread it out. We have done it in a year. At the beginning in the file servers, there was only left, and then they come there and there and there and more and more and more and more. And then you have different rights. Do it different. Yeah, do it different, split it up. You can have more than it's nothing to have another site collection. Yeah, and if you need both, you have to say, okay, I say I want to work and I have to sync. On the other one, I have not sync, but I have to jump directly in the browser, and the browser is still only you can use. The only thing is we do not have it offline. So therefore, it's better to have all the old stuff in a different way and not thinking anymore. We need it still there in an archive site collection or something else. We can reach the stuff, but we don't need it every day, every minute in offline. So that's a different one, I have to say. It will sync anyway.
Very detailed answer, and hope they will understand. So thank you so much, Hans. I want to say, because I haven't seen that much effort you have put on for this session, and especially the presentation was awesome. But it's a long one, and but very well prepared, and really love the MS Talk logos everywhere.
I know that. Okay. Therefore, I have to say thank you. And you can have now the second session. And I have to say, okay, during the Wednesday, looking for the weather, 5 minutes in the garden, and it's also okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
thank you so much.
bye.
And yes, bye.